Hello everybody. In this video, I will show you how we can take an architectural space like this one, and then by using a mesh like this, kind of like explore section cuts. And then I will illustrate two ways, again, how we can create a perfectly fitting representation or two-dimensional drawing of that space via polygon extractions or hand drawing, and then bring this over as a new DXF document, load this into Illustrator, and then create a lighting plan. Also here I will talk about kind of like how to bring everything over, how to set this to scale, how to work with styles, color, font. We don't have an architectural tick in Illustrator, so for this purpose here, I use simply the dot, and then also working with the layers, which is really quite interesting, and then step by step recreate the space, add details to it, style it with colors and gradients, to then, as you can see, start giving somebody an idea when you see this from the side as a section cut, where the lights might be installed, the direction, and how they would work. Okay, let's do it. Before we continue, let me show you one more time how we can visualize section cuts on the space, and then based on the cut we see, create the drawing we would like to send to Illustrator. So, first thing, Shift A, make a plane. This plane with S I can scale up pretty big, bring this to here, S, there we are, beautiful. And then this is S and X. I scale it along the x-axis. This plane, let me show you one more time, has a top and a bottom. That's important. Now along the x-axis, here, I will rotate this 90 degrees. Now it's important to figure out where's this red. So red is on the left side. The geometry of the building we will give now a Boolean cut. So we would like this geometry to kind of like work as a reduction tool. And now we can move this around and beautifully slice that building. Obviously, this piece is in our view. We could hide it inside a new collection. Or we could go to the object properties, scroll down, viewport display, and change the display. The geometry is still there. It's just displayed only in wireframe. Yeah, and then we really have a lot of creative abilities with it. You see how we can rotate everything around, do really interesting section cuts. What is nice about this process working in Blender is we can also have multiple cuts at the same time. So Shift D and X. I will rotate this along the y-axis, z-axis, there we are. And then this building, I will give another Boolean modifier, this one. There you see how this works. Pretty cool, huh? This is probably not very useful for an AutoCAD two-dimensional drawing, but if you would like to create a nice three-dimensional representation, kind of like a look into the space, this is perfect. We can even add another plane, Shift D and Escape. We'll set this to 0, move this up, and give this another Boolean cut. There. Oh, here this time I have to rotate this plane. So along the x-axis, there we are. 180. So you see now even we can look into the space. Yeah. As you see, it's really beautiful, the ability to see multiple section cuts at the same time. This is not only for representation purpose very useful, it's also very useful when you actually model, because you can kind of like hide what is in front of your your eyes. Now what we want to do is I will pick a nice space. I will make a section cut along this plane. So for this demonstration purpose, I will delete these two planes and then clean the modifier stack up a little bit. There we are. Yeah, this view looks actually pretty good. I could, for example, also give this a Boolean modifier too. That should work. There. And could even do the same with these other parts, so that then from this view, we truly only see kind of like this individual piece. Now, and this one here actually, well, and this one, they're outside the plane, so I can simply hide them if you want to work this way. Okay, good. So that's kind of like creating or visualizing the section cut. How do we now then create the drawing? So there are two ways. I can select this geometry I have, make a copy, and then apply the Boolean modifier, and then kind of like extract elements I need. Or I could also quickly redraw something based on how I want. So let me quickly only show you how we can redraw the outside part. And then I show you how we do the collapse part. They both have their advantage and disadvantage. So I will Shift A, add a cube. I will turn on snapping, so I don't have to say all the time that I hold Control key. And with G, I snap this one to this corner. Then I go into edit mode. These points I delete. This I move down, delete. And there you see it's actually quite nice. All I need to do is like E and Z, E and Y, E and Z, E and Y. I'm just redrawing literally just the profile, and I move the mouse over all interesting corners to find the geometry. You know, the inside, E and Y, E and Z. Yeah, there it was. Yep. E and Y, Z, E and Y, E and Z, E and Y, and E and Z. And then here I select these 2 points in F. Cool. No? So you saw actually I was pretty fast. The nice thing about this process again is we can project, or not project, but I draw on a two-dimensional plane and I use the 3D geometry as my snapping target. For example, here's an edge and then there's an edge. So how can we do this? Here, this will be very easy. Now I can select this and this, press F, and that basically fills it. Now, how do I do this part? I can select this point, E and Y, and then I snap. Well, I need to snap to the correct position there. And then E and Z. Yeah, and there we are. See, maybe at the bottom here, fill this. Cool. Okay. How do we do these lines? I can select this point here. Shift D, make a copy, and then move it over. E and Z, and there. Here's a small piece. So this one I select Shift D and Z, so I move it along the Z-axis, E and Y there. Shift D and Y, E and Z, Shift D and Z, E and Y there. The advantage of this process is I'm really fully in control of what I only want to see and show. No? This line here, for example, is important to document this part. This line is important to document this part. All the other stuff I don't necessarily really bring in. Now, how do we do the window geometry? So I will stop the edit mode. I can go to here, go into edit mode, and then it's up to you how you want to do this. Look, I'm just selecting all these vertical edges. or here the horizontal edges, or all together. There. Shift D and X, and then P and separate. So with Shift D we made a copy. With P we separate it. Separate is here. Then I'll leave object mode, edit mode. I mean, this building I hide, and this is only a little bit of a downside. There's the stuff. You see it's actually disappeared because it has this modifier active. So if I delete this, then there it's gone. I can now, with this selected, Shift D select this and say, for example, Control J to join, to bring this all into one piece. Now we can do that. So there, join, edit mode, B, select all this. Oh, not you. And then all this, bring over and align. There, see? Pretty easy. If there are some parts missing, we quickly fill this in. If there's some noise, we quickly remove this stuff. What's going on with you? Fuse them together. Very good. Then there is also now the ground plane. That's an easy one. So here, Shift D, snap to this point, E and Y to there. So there's kind of like the floor. Yeah, perfect. And there we have actually now our section cut for that part. To help and to bring this over, ideally we want to rotate this flat. So I have, where do I have this geometry piece actually? Let me see. It's here. What is this one? So this is actually, I call this actually section plane. Now, and then here I call this section cut. Okay. And this, to make this look perfect, now I'm bring this over. Think about this again. This is a huge drawing document. This is my center. So I make a copy of this, Shift D and escape. Then I rotate this one along the y-axis by 90 and right click and say, actually, hold on, I will do it this way. I'll make it nice and clean. I select this point. Oh, wait. We can do this actually here. See this? It's a 3D cursor. This is snapping turned on. I can snap it simply to this point, right click and then say here, origin to that 3D cursor. So, and this is the origin, and I want this to move to there. 0. There we are. So now I brought this actually right to there. Super good. Okay, let's actually do one more section cut, maybe as an overlay, so you can understand how this worked. So if you have interest to do that, follow this. Alt-H, I show the previous model again. And here, this is my section plane. I can keep it where it is, or I can move this, for example, down. Maybe turn the snapping off. There. Let's say I go to this view. This is actually quite interesting because it's at a different position. So 2 things first. In this version now I will show you how I will find everything by copy and paste the geometry. So also here, just for presentation quick purpose, I turn on this so we can see this cut. Because I'm going to consume this model, I would like to have a copy. Shift D and escape. Very good. Then maybe here this I hide. This piece I can drag out and then apply. With apply, now as you see, wow, It's now I have this as a tangible geometry. So you see a lot of the extra, or well, a lot of the lines are already drawn, and all I now need to do is see, well, if this is a section cut, what might be really important to kind of like bring over. So here I will select, for example, these windows one more time. I'm selecting the outer edges. You can also select the inner edges. It doesn't really matter much. So there. So then there I will say Shift T and escape. I always press escape so I don't move, because after Shift T you move, and then I move everything over. Hold Control for the snapping. There, and then I draw very quickly my correct vertical lines. This is, for example, interesting. Now there you can see how that window would not be visible because that's overlapping. I keep it at this for the moment. Then here I have this edge and this edge that comes over from here. So this is perfect. I can see that this edge is lower than this edge. So this edge here, I don't know, maybe it could be useful. So Shift D and escape, and then I bring this edge over. Same here. Or, oh, I don't know. From there, I could bring these parts further over. For this, what we do right now, whoops, sorry, I just keep this one out. Okay. So now I can select all this, you and you and you and you and you. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, so now these are these lines. There are more elements I will be able to see. So for example, this edge I will see. And this edge I might see. And then also this edge and this edge, this edge, this, whoops, this one, and this one, and this one, I will see too. So Shift T and escape. Then I move them out. Then they are, you see they are kind of like three-dimensionally. So S, X, and 0. And then I snap them back to where they should be. Very good. So you see a lot of that work is basically done. Also here, these edges I will select Shift D and escape and bring over. These edges I will select Shift D and escape and bring over. This line is a tick too short, so I just move this down. Here, this will come over to there. Very good. Yeah, and then look, even here we have this element, Shift D and X. I bring this over. Now you can see slowly how I'm creating all the stuff I need. Now, I will go to this view, Z and wireframe, AA select nothing, B just point select all this stuff, and then I will say P and separate. There, I hit the rest, and there's actually no the space. I can just only delete these faces. Very good. Clean this maybe up. Here, these points are crazy. You go down. I turn the snapping turn back on. This is wrong. You definitely have to go to there. You are dissolved. So this definitely will go down, and here this one too along the Z. Yeah, can fill this. We can fill this. I can show the spilling one more time. And we go into this view, make sure that, yeah, I'm kind of like bringing everything over. And that kind of really is it. Yeah. And the same then also with the floor. So here we are. This is going to be interesting because we have basically, yeah, we'll do it this way in this case. I will select all this. Well, let's see all these points. Yeah, very good. Shift D and escape. P and separate. Tab, going to edit object mode. And then here this I delete. And now I do something really funny. I collapse the whole piece along Z to 0. Flop. Going to apply scale. Edit. Select everything. And then here I clean this quickly up and say merge by distance, X, and say dissolve faces. Sorry, delete faces. And right click origin, move this over. And you see now there's actually my floor. And now this is a ramp. So these two lines I have here that don't really make sense. So I will dissolve them or delete them based on what the program allows me to. These points here I can dissolve. Very good. This here makes no sense. So these go over. Yeah, and this one here doesn't exist because there you see, that's where it ends. That's kind of like the floor. Okay, there. Very good. All this we can Control J join together. And then here we'll do a similar thing again. Shift S or in object mode, snap this to there, right click to origin, and I can go to a top view, and then I start rotating this down 90 degrees and 90 degrees. Yeah. Bring this to 0. Hide all this. Look there. There's actually the section cut. Oh, there is. Oh, 7. Oh, this is actually rotated incorrectly. This one here, I mean. 90. There we are. And there you can see even how they are kind of like overlapping now. This shows more the inside. This shows more the, how could I say that? A cut way earlier. Okay, beautiful. So maybe the last thing here is we can select these two and then also say apply scale and rotation. So they're set. We want to give them logical names. I simply created these section planes and geometrically. We can also give them particular names. So this is, for example, the cut that is further inside. So we can call this maybe section cut. Yeah, 1 or however you want to give them the name. Yeah, call this one 1. And then this one I will give section cut 2. And we're kind of ready to send everything over to Illustrator or AutoCAD. The only thing maybe that could be of use now is, so if this is really a section cut and I show only what's visible, we can see that these lines here of the windows, this is actually the wall. So I move this one down, and then this edge I delete. Same here. Rip, and delete that edge. Yeah, that's more logical, no? That's only what we would see. Very good. Yeah, perfect. Then all we have to do is we save our stuff and then export as AutoCAD DXF. In case for those who just see this video and you do not see the exporter, go to here, DXF, and turn on everything. And I'm going to export this and call this section cut. Kind of like one projection is kind of like the top. Very good. Perfect. So here in Illustrator, we're going to bring in now the AutoCAD drawing. Before we continue, one more food of thought one more time. AutoCAD is for doing all our architectural drawings because we can work one-to-one. And in Illustrator, we are going to visualize our vision. So, new file. 17 by 11, that's good. Landscape, perfect. We set this to centimeters. So when here I draw a line 10 centimeters, it is 10 centimeters. Bring in via place our AutoCAD drawing or the DXF file. Turn the show import on. And we want to go in via a scale factor. So not original, not fit to the artboard. I want this to map 1-to-1. 1-to-1 here means one of the original document scale meters to 1 centimeter. Click somewhere. Look at that. Now, if I click this group, it tells me this is 22 centimeters, 0.853. In Blender, you will see, well, look at that, 22 meters by 85 centimeters. When I draw a line here, hold Shift, select the line, there, 0.3 centimeters. In real life, that's actually 30 centimeters. Okay, so you see, actually, that's the reason why we want to bring it in this way, because it allows us to actually create drawings which are not just artificially 1 centimeter, 33%, whatever. They follow more. So this 1 centimeter is actually equal 1 meter. So that means that this document is at the scale of 1 to 100. So 1 to 100. That's the scale. Okay. Place this somewhere else. There are various ways how this can be visualized. An additional method, for example, would be to draw a drawing scale. So let's say we go with 1 meter or 10 meters. Let's say 10 meters. Now this is a really, really long line. Maybe it's too long. Let's go with 1 meter. There we are. So that's like a 1 meter element. Very good. You can make a copy, move this to here, make a copy, move this to there. I'm snapping these pieces. Then we are just snapping this all lines up. And then also here, vertically, I can draw vertical lines down. So, and that's basically 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters. How big is also the text? Let's say we make this 10 or 8, so it's a little bit smaller. Okay, yeah, this is not as bad. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah. Then I go to this, select these lower points, move this up to the midpoint, Now this starts to look actually much better. Here with Shift and the snapping, I draw this one down. There we are. And then we could go ahead and say, so this is 0. And then 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 5. There are different styles how you can create actually these bars. So just be aware of this. And just line this up all a little bit. Very good. Select all those. And I would like to even this up there. Very good. Maybe go over, tick, go, or bring this actually under it. There. Yeah. So what this basically helps is when somebody sees this drawing for a second now, if this is symmetric, now it's a 1 to 100, for example. They also have here a scale. So 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters. I could, for example, if I want to, take this, then I make this a 5, put it to there. This one I copy, bring this to there, and this I bring over and set this to a 10. There. Okay. Now if you want to quickly show larger distances. Very good. For the moment, we can move this to somewhere else. Maybe we can here go to layer, all this. I go make a new layer. There we are. And then I will, when this is all selected, drag this dot up to there. Now it's on this layer. Very good. And give this a name. Okay, very nice. Now it's time to style our line work a little bit more. So to make these drawings look less typical AutoCAD, visually more interesting. However, we should still follow drafting conventions. For example, how do we identify a cut surface? How a door opens and such, line weight. All these things are still very important. And when you pay a little bit of time, like in Google, and look up some references, you will find a lot of very interesting drawings. Particularly cool are also three-dimensional section cuts now, because they not only give you this two-dimensional look, but also give you the depth. Or for example, here with an underlay, or basically the section cut is an overlay over the church. Okay, now, so with all that, let's go to Illustrator and let me quickly show you kind of like the details, which are really important. So everything what we have here right now, we can keep. And this is inside this element here. This maybe a height. I can maybe bring this up. There we are. And then when I zoom in, very good. I select everything and then go to properties. Now, this is important actually to understand. So when you work in AutoCAD and you create a plotter, you create a plotted drawing, you set everything up so when it prints on your desired paper format, it all is matching. Here we can instantly see how on this page everything will look. So with what I guess I tried to say is we can have a little bit more of creative freedom. So I will make everything really thin for the moment. So you see there are all these elements, and these are all just lines. I can keep all this simply as a reference. So I just call this import and maybe also lock this. So I can't move this right now. Make a new layer. And now I would like to create everything for the section cut, so of the walls. So you see also snapping works perfectly. So click, 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 and then go back, and there's my first wall piece. Properties, can give this a fill. There, see? Easy as eating pie. Then we can zoom in. Be aware that the snapping in Illustrator is not really the best. Is it here somewhere? Oh, I don't know. Maybe I go to there and then there and there. Go to this. Move this up and there. Now on this point I can snap to there. Very good. Ah, look at this. Everything starts to look already much more, yeah, I would say professional, no? So we follow typical norms. And properly in Illustrator, you might, sorry, not Illustrator, AutoCAD, you might realize that kind of like we do the same here, the hatching there. No, not bad. Beautiful. Okay. Maybe here, these two lines I will draw. Okay. But this, no, I do not want to have a fill. So nope. But maybe give this for the moment a 0.1 line weight. Yeah. There, very good. And then maybe here. There. 0.1 is way too much. We'll fix this in a moment. Very good. Okay, so when we zoom in, we see slightly an issue here. So here's this line. When we go to stroke, what is there we can do? We can make this sharp, yeah, and not, I want this to be in the inside. No, that doesn't really work right now. So, oi, 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 what can we do here? So, two options. First, this is move 0.1 way too much. 0.5, yeah, still pretty big. 0.25. Okay. And then you 0.25. Yeah, better. These lines, I will, by the way, give this detail of having this and really nice sharp corners. Good. When this has a 0.25 stroke thickness, check this out. When I select this, and here now I say stroke. Look, there I can say be outside, be in the inside, or have none. So be on the outside. And then 0.25. But then you see, this is too big, because when we center it there, now it perfectly lines up. So we're kind of like hiding this masquerading by giving them same stroke value. And then these lines have also the same stroke value, just no fill. There, you see? Okay, very nice. So we have this line here ready, and then we can go from here to there, go down, click, okay. So this is kind of like this interior wall I would see. This down here would be the soil. So let's put down, I will do this with a rectangular shape. There we are. click, and then this I drag over, snap, black fill, same detail, and then the height, 0.3. So it's kind of like the same as these walls, just as, so we know that. Bring this up, there we are, very good. Now I can very easily redraw these windows this way, but no fill here, please. And then copy and paste. So that's the, how do we do this? Hold the Alter Option key, click and then shift there, and then chunk. One more time. This is the same, so then only hold the Alt key and hold Shift, drag this over. Hold the Alt key, Shift, drag this over. The reason why I'm not manipulating the imported drawing is simply so that the drawing can remain just as a snap reference. There. Oh, also here we need to have one line, no? Suck. There we are. And because of these have an outside border, this perfectly matches up. Now with the outside border, again, and it does not necessarily make sense or so, because the bigger the border, the wall thickness actually grows. Here, let me show you something. Outline. There you can see, this is where the actual line is. And then this thing can grow. So I guess what I'm trying to point out here is this is another really good reason to show you why this, what we do in Illustrator, is just for illustration purpose. It's not really an actual construction drawing or document. But now if we hide this, look at that. Now there we start getting more elements. Going back to here, then you can see we can also create, for example, the soil environment around it. So let's say here we do this kind of in a simplistic way. Here we are. So let's say the soil would be roughly here, there. Hold Shift, click, hold Shift, click, over and up. Now the fill is a little bit irritating, so this fill I turn off for the moment. Thank you. Then this goes over. And then now I'm just snapping on these endpoints. There. And click and close. So this is all good. Besides here, these 2 points, I need to move up, hold Shift till it snaps, yeah, to there. And then I can give this a fill back, and maybe here, this, we make a little bit less dark. We don't scale. If this needs to be wider, I select the points. There, whoops. Okay, very good. Yeah, so one last thing I would like to quickly also show for those who might run into a situation of like an overhang or something, or the need, how do we do a dashed line? So I showed you how we can, and then we are the normal tool here, the line tool, make a line. Bring this up and there. Now we are very basic values here. Let's say 1 point is going to be really thick, 0.5 and 0.25. Sorry, there you can see how this gets thinner and thinner. Now that's easy peasy. How do we do now a dashed line? It's actually also really easy. That's all inside the stroke. And there's a dashed. When we click this, so we have 12 points. So 10 points for a line, and then a 10-point space. 10 points a line, 10 points a space. If I go to here one more time, what about if I type in 5? Okay, so 10 points line and 5 point a space. 10 points a line, 5 points a space. So this is actually how we can create these individual patterns or dashed lines. So maybe another 10 dash. This is going to show everything. So what do we have now? So there's a small one. So you see this gets actually quite interesting. So 10, 5, 10, 5. Now, what about we say maybe 10, 5, then here 2. There, look at that. So you see that 10 line, 5 space, 2 line, 5 space, and then it repeats. Okay, very good. So this is a very quick way how we can create different lines. Since we're on the AutoCAD part or the drafting part, how do we do measurements? So we have, obviously here, our scale drawing. Oh, look at that, with all this little bit of line work, everything starts to look so much better. I will select everything and center this a little bit. Good, and then hide this again. Now I would like to create a height. Again, this is also why it's so nice working with easy dimensions, also when we import this in. I don't want to go back to my 3D program or AutoCAD and bring everything over to measure. I can now go ahead and draw myself here. For example, let's say there I draw a vertical line with Shift there. Nope. You will be no dashi. Thank you. Good. And then here I will draw a line maybe to there. Whoa, how did this happen? I did not want this line to be that long. Oh, click and shift. I drew this actually in both directions. Actually, hold on, I'm getting close to the ground. I will do this up here, just for the sake of the demonstration. And then a new line. And then this I will bring over. Okay. So here now I have a length and I have my guides. Now they basically tell me where everything is. Let's continue this game very quickly. Now this is pretty much standard. Yeah, there you see already, welcome to the limits of how the stuff works. I mean with snapping, etc. Come on. There, I want to make a copy. And then sometimes the snapping is kind of ridiculous. There, very good. Thank you. Bring this up, and then here I can bring this over there and there. See how I kind of like set this up. And then this way I transfer the height over and snap this to there. Thank you. So you go back to there and then one there. Copy. There. Very good. Okay. So the reason why I drew all these individual lines instead of just one long line is now we can do our architectural tick. Go to stroke. So also there, look at there, arrowheads. And it does not have actually the architectural tick here built in. So I will for example, we could use this one or the arrowhead. Maybe we can use, yeah, do we have actually dots? The dots actually can look really nice there. Okay, good. Start and end. Let's go with the dot for the moment. And then where do I want this one to sit? Should the dot end before, or should the dot or the arrow be centered? Centered. See that? Okay. And I will do it with this one and this one, and this one. I can actually select all at the same time. And then here, give those this detail. Perfect. And there you can see actually where it is. Good. So when these are architectural line, then maybe the dimension line is a tick too thick. So again, this now comes into styling everything. What about 0.1? Yeah, this is now, the hierarchy is better. These dots maybe are a tick too small. So let me show you how we can help this. We can simply inflate their scale. There. Now they pop out better. This is much easier not to read. Okay, good. We can also, I mean, let's say this for a product presentation or something, we can also use arrowheads now. So, but where's the arrowhead? There it is here. I will just bring this one down so you can see now the problem of making this arrowhead go right to where it is. So this one, yeah. So now here I want them to be right there. Because if I select this and match this up, maybe I should use exactly the same arrowhead for both style-wise. There. And there you can see how this works. Okay. If you work with affinity inside the stroke area, then you also have the architectural tick. So before we continue, I would like to select this line and turn the way how this line looks into a style. So let's go to graphic style. There we are. Click this one. There we are. And now, basically, we have this as a graphic style. So what this means is I can draw here a really nice and long line. Now, select this line, go to here and give it that style. Perfect. So I can reuse everything. This I can give a name. You're double clicking. For example, call this dimension line. If you go more also into the search for style, etc., like graphic style, and in YouTube, you find more information about it. But this is basically then how you don't have to later select each one and adjust it. We can just create styles and derive with that our design. So the reason why I did all this is now I can select, let's see, all this. No, I cannot. I have to go with this selection. And or maybe just go this way. I want to bring this one down more and then select this and bring this one up. Okay, good. The reason why I did this is just to show you how I am kind of like customizing my layout here. Now in Illustrator, in AutoCAD, we have the ability to customize how dimensions are created, which is perfect. Now again, this is a good example for why to do all this stuff in AutoCAD. Here, this distance, I would have to match by hand. I try to do this eyeball-wise that this is close enough. For the purpose of what this drawing will be about, this will be sufficient. Then we can also think about dimension. So, yeah, how long is this actually? So I can copy this out, paste this in, and I know this is exactly this. And then where is actually, I can set this centered. There's this piece, very good. So there, I position it on top. And then how long is this? Can measure this out. So 9 meters 88. Bring this to there. So 9 meters and 88 centimeters. There. How much is this one? 353. I'm just trying to be really fast right now, just so you see kind of like the overall process. Okay. Another little tip when we do these things, you see how I brought everything down, whoops, to sit on the line. Now they're all aligned, and now, for example, the arrow key, I can move them up a little bit. Okay, very good. Also here, by the way, just one more time, styles, no? We have character. If we go in and type in character style, character styles, there. So type character styles, there we are. So let's go maybe plus. I call this again dimension, just so you know what I'm working on here right now. And yeah, so here, this text, I will go with maybe Helvetica, light. Yeah, so it's nice and thin. I can select all at the same time and then do all this by hand if I want to, or I can create dimension styles. Now if I click this, see it switched back to this previous style. Now that's not what I wanted. So when this is all set and finished, dimension style there. If I double click here, then it opens the editor, by the way. So, because the reason why I'm showing you this is just what I want to, if I want to change all these at the same time, maybe, I don't know, for the sake of demonstration, we're going to make this italic. Basic character, so here, light, italic. You see, chalk. Beautiful. Okay, one little check. Can we view as small list there? Dimension 9. Yeah, this is so irritating. Yeah. I was just curious, like here when you double click it, it opens this character style option. Graphic style option. No, that doesn't exist that way. Welcome to Illustrator. Hey, that's why I like Affinity. Anyway, don't want to bash on them too much. But you see that then the more we start adding these elements, it gets more interesting. And then because this is one page, we're going to document. We then also want to make sure how size, etc., works out. So the text should not be too big, should not be too small. The line weight, we can play with the line weight more, establish a stronger hierarchy, etc. But essentially, this pretty much sums up some of the ideas and techniques. How to bring everything over, start styling it. Maybe one section also about doing layers. So here I bring this over. dimension here. That is my dimension part. There we are. When I select everything in there, I can give all those, for example, even an opacity. So, whoa, you see, it's still there, but by making them transparent, they fade further into the back. Yeah. Okay, very good. Very nice. Let's keep it at this for the moment. I think this is actually pretty sufficient, so you can move forward and work on everything what you need for the next part. So a colorized lighting plan. That's in the end the reason why we bring this all over into Illustrator. So here I just picked up some examples. Now you can see, looks quite interesting how you can play with the light and color and then show somebody where stuff could be, either in a with a white page background or, for example, with a black background. And then when we go to a side view, let's see where we can find one. For example, here, now we can add light cones and such elements. So how can we do this? Okay, so we go back to Illustrator. And all we need to do now is coloring and inverting actually the colors. So we'll make a new layer. I'll bring this layer to here. There we are. And then I will make this to here so you see what I'm doing. And make this black flop there. Cool. Now the rest we don't really see. This is okay. Let's start with the dimensions. I will select everything. And then instead of black, well, I'll be white. Okay, you see there, I need to, when I select the lines, not the text. Okay, here, select the lines. There, this will be white. Thank you. Same here. And then there's this other line, and there's there. Thank you. So no fill. And for this, just white. Okay, but it's very tiny. Now, I will come back to that just in a moment because it is so thin. It's kind of like breaking away. Here, this one. There we will just switch the colors, and you see how I'm clicking and clicking. I can select all these fields at the same time and colorize them. So because I'm doing this type of work, for example, now here's an interesting way of thinking. I will start putting this onto one layer, solid cuts, for example. I don't know, I just made up that word there. Very good. So is it a piece? Yeah. Solid cuts. This is the foundation. Okay, you can stay there. Here, maybe foundation. You go to there. Very good. And then you're gone. What do we have here? All this stuff, no? So all these other elements. So here, now I select this, there, make you white. Ta-da. So maybe lines. Or maybe solid fields. Foundation. Yeah, what do you do with the foundation? That should be also maybe no you, but maybe with the gray, maybe we keep it. I don't know, it should be a really There, something B there maybe. Okay. No, this one I can drag over a little bit more. And there you start noticing how everything is actually there. So we're just inverting everything. Because I start splitting everything up onto different layers, it will help then actually selecting everything. The dimension text here, I do not want to select, so I turned all this off. And now I can go to properties and say all this has no fill, the stroke, make the stroke a little bit thicker. Yeah, and all these selected. This is just really annoying here in Illustrator with the selecting part. Did I mention I don't like this program a lot? It's not bad. It's not the best in my opinion. Maybe I make this actually more white. You see then they come back. So also here again for you, it's a matter of playing with the values. Or the color. So here we have these huge dots. So all this I select, very good. And then go to stroke. This goes back to 100. So they're not as big. Very good. 0.3 maybe a tick smaller. There we are. Where's this other text? Whoa, what happened to you? White. There. This has an opacity. So here I can bring the opacity back. Yeah. Okay. No? You see now, because the text is actually 100% opaque, it's really strong. Also, these lines here, they are very, oh, and the fills are really glaring. The reason why I'm pointing this out is really good when you go back to these images, when you do this for the first time, to take a look at them as a reference. So yeah, this is pretty solid. Or the contrast is strong here now, the wall contrast, also here the wall contrast. So you can use these as a reference to harmonize your, how could I say that, your own, yeah, your line work. It's not really that there is a one way has to be done this way. It's more trying to actually get to there. There we are. It's more about trying to create a balance that looks quite nice. Here, for example, it's a section cut without any strong fill colors. So maybe question now here is, if this is white, should we keep this white? Do we maybe make this a little gray, but then we have to adjust the color too, or the stroke? Yeah, and maybe, when we lower this, could this work? Yeah, look at that. Not so much in your face. Okay, just be careful with the stroke stuff again. Yeah, welcome to this madness. So maybe there we saw that's not a good idea. Okay, so in that case, we will adjust simply the color. Maybe this medium gray here. I don't know. Oh, that was a fairly fast click. In case I could select the same color. So under the brown. Oh. Wah, wah. Okay, one more time. So under this brown. There. Okay. Very good. Beautiful. Okay, so that basically how everything about how then to start colorizing everything, or more or less not colorizing, turn this into a black and white, or invert the color. And now we're ready to bring in all the elements, for example, scale. furniture, human figures, one or two, three people will be very good. Outside, maybe a tree to finish this. And then obviously, well, how do we do the lights? So let's quickly take a look at how we can do actually a light. This is fairly simple. All we have to do is work with shapes, and then we can give this a light color and a gradient and adjust the transparency. So, however, let's go to here first. What I would like to point out in this is the graphic is actually pretty nice. Not because it's all complicatedly drawn, but it's nice and rich. The quantity of elements is really good. AKA, that means here we only have one spotlight. It's probably not going to be really of any interest. If we have more spotlights or whatever, it will be more interesting to look at. So think about the story you're going to talk about. So having some furniture elements in this space, human references, sitting, etc., and then the lights, that can give somebody really the impression of how this actually could work. So click and click with the pen tool, click horizontal there. Here's a little tip to make these cones nice and even. You see, it's kind of really badly basic. There, I just use this rectangle as a guide. And now I can scale, for example, this as needed. Okay, anyway. So this we would like to turn into a nice yellow. Let's copy this image, paste this to here. So we can kind of like see maybe what type of light they're using. And maybe let's go for another one. And this is actually not too bad either. Copy. And what about, oh, this is not bad. Copy, paste there. The reason why I brought this in is just to show you how you can see how every light here has a somewhat different tone. This is more kind of like a colder whitish. This is a nice warmer, more golden. So we can select this, double click. No, actually, hold on. We can do it this way. Sample this color out with the eyedropper. Done. Thank you. You can go now. And now here you can see there is a gradation. How is this actually working? Easy. We go to here. And this is actually the gradient tool. Nothing is happening. Well, because we told the software to use a fill color. We want a gradient. There we are. For this, one more time, maybe here we can sample this color out. There we are. For you, obviously the same color. But here's a trick. This goes to the end, and then opacity we set to 0. Look at that. And there we are. Okay. Position it under it. There. Copy this down. I'm just very quickly scaling those just to show you what I meant with when we have multiples. Maybe space everything nicely there. And maybe these cones here right now, they are kind of like next to each other. Let's say we want to do something like here where it hits the ground just for the sake of experimentation. So from here to there, to there, to there, and then maybe here, there, there, and there, and there. There now you see also how this overlaps. Quite beautiful. Okay, very good. So you see, not really complicated. This was all done with a linear gradient. Now, let's say somewhere there's maybe a spherical pendant there. So here spherical pendant hangs down. I'm skipping the line work right now. And then I would like to copy this color, but hey, or actually you see it did not only copy the color, by the way, it copied the fill. It doesn't matter where I click, it copied the gradient over. And let's go to this one, circle set. There you see like from the center to there it is. Yeah, so there now you have kind of like a spherical piece, how this is there. So what else could we do? Here we have a little bit of glows. So this is probably more photoshopped. That's a little bit more tricky to do in Illustrator. Yeah, they're kind of like lines. Oh yeah, there's another really interesting wrong application. Wrong application, another interesting detail maybe to talk about. See here, this is nice and soft, and here these edges are kind of ugh. So we can select this vector, and this is vector. This is not like pixel based, and now we can give this an effect. There you are, and let's take a look. Blur. Let's see how much. That's obviously way too much. There, no, that's actually not too bad. Little thing, however, then you see how the top is blurry, and maybe the top one I want to be perfectly straight. So two options. First, all these lights I'm having here right now, I will put into a new layer and call this lights there. And then this layer has to be under my solid fills. So the solid fills, kind of like in good old-fashioned cartoon drawing, covers it up. Okay, now makes sense, because there you see it's still there. If I select this and bring this under it, there. Because again, there are lights and there are the solid fills. So in Illustrator, you really have to think about more how do we stack everything, and less about like what's the proper way how to name layers and all the stuff like in AutoCAD. You can bring that from AutoCAD over too. Now we even have the ability to colorize everything and the layers. But here, this is more we try to do something that's visual. If you don't want to do it this way, so here the lights are on top, another technique is we draw another rectangle. There's this rectangle. I make this rectangle simply red, so you see where it is. And then you and this rectangle make a clipping mask. So what's that actually going to do? So you see when I go into edit mode for this rectangle, I will turn off this one there. Now we can see this better. When I can select these points, move this down, and there, look, everything of that object then will be visible. And with this, I can clip perfectly. That's a common technique there. If you want to do it this way. Let's say you have a light that's actually coming from the ceiling or from the wall, and we want this to, yeah, let's say here. Oh, let's do this. We take this, bring this over to there. I will go back to this outline view here one more time. So, where is this object? There in this layer, there's that piece. This is what I want to edit. Thank you. So you go to there, you go to there, and then maybe I will click these 2 points here. I move down. This goes over there. Very good. Now, and I do not want the light to blur into the wall. So now I'm readjusting my clipping mask here. There, now you can see how beautiful that works. Okay, very good. Yeah. And with this technique, then we can also do other interesting designs. So let's say here I have, yeah, let's do it this way. Here's a rectangle. Of course, you don't see this rectangle. There's a rectangle. And now we will give this rectangle a nice effect. We treat this kind of like a, let's say, a fluorescent light bulb, those crazy ones. There is that effect. Very good. Yeah. Now, and this is maybe, let's say, an LED strip that is, or a light fixture or something. So now here we have that issue. Shoot, there's even no solid color. So again, this is where then this trick really comes in very handy. Draw this over it. Select these two, and then we do make a clipping mask. There. Easy. Very good. So the creative possibilities are, as you can see, endless. And as I said, the more elements you start adding, the more interesting the whole space will become. You don't want to overflood it. Key here really is, what story are you going to tell? So where the lights are, obviously, that's important. The orientation, the color. I mean, we can keep this like in this color because we're not really representing the true color. This is more really a visualized idea of the space. Then some dimensions. And yeah, maybe browsing around, taking a look at some other examples to get some ideas how this could look or work is really helpful and very insightful. You will see that at the beginning they all look kind of, I don't want to say scary, but it's the same elements. It's just really the quantity. Here's like on top, you see a lot of spherical elements, and then they are all over the place. Oh, these particular glows. Wrong application. Let me show this one more time. Yeah, so let's say here we want behind here to have a nice big glow. So I'm making this bigger. And this definitely has to be much softer. So there you can see how this actually can fade out. So we have this bigger glow and then this other glow. Yeah. Okay, very good. Perfect. Let's keep it at this.